Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast. I am your host, Chuck Manity. And in today's episode, we are going to be covering Love, Death and Robots episode 4, which is called Suits. So, just a little bit of background there. It got a 7.4 out of 10 IMDb rating, and that's from 19,000 votes, so this is a good one. It has a runtime of 17 minutes and was aired on March 15th, 2019. So the synopsis is, a community of farmers use their homemade mechs to defend their families from an alien invasion. The directors was Gabriella Penaccioli, Frank Bilson. The writers were Stephen Lewis, Philip Gillette and Tim Miller. And the stars of the show, in other words the voice actors in this case, was Neil Kaplan as Hank, G.K. Bowes as Beth, Scott White as Jake, Courtney Taylor as Helen, and Tudi Roche as Crazy Mel. So a little bit of trivia on this one. In the original short story by Stephen Lewis, the name DBs is short for dimensional beings, since they travel through dimensional gateways. So, my thoughts on this episode, I liked it. Very intense. If you're a family person, and if you love family and you love your family, then this would obviously be quite intense for you, because obviously they're quite a well-knit family and friendship unit, obviously defending their farm from crazy aliens. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. As usual, it starts with the Netflix logo, and then you see the title sequence, which you guys should know ad nauseum by now that I love it. So it opens up with Hank and Beth busy having dinner together, and Hank is obviously talking about what looks like a sort of broken robot outside, and he says even though it's a nice gesture, it's a bit of an eyesore to look at. And then all of a sudden you get an emergency siren going off with the red flashing lights, and then he pops off to his laptop or his computer system, which is a monster of a computer system, and it says breach detected. They have a discussion, and they say that there's a breach in the property line, and then Hank tells Beth that she just needs to make Mel aware, and Mel, they call her Crazy Mel. I really love that character, just so by the way, but they call her Crazy Mel, and it's for probably what is a pretty good reason. But obviously Hank tells his wife that she needs to make Mel aware that there is something going on the farm. Hank pops into his shed, and he opens these massive shed doors and then climbs into a humongous robot, so some sort of mech robot, and this is why it's obviously called Suits, because they have robot suits. There's a fun joke as he's taking his mech out to go investigate what's going on. He sees what his little eyesore project, or the gift from the neighbor, so to speak, and he mentions to his wife that he tried to move it and he couldn't, and he said, well, I think we're going to have to just move. Which is, well, I thought it was funny. Anyway, they are off to go and see what the problem is, and obviously then you get a sort of an idea of how big the farm is. You know, they're going past the chickens, the cows and all that sort of stuff. And the animation, I just have to make mention of this, the animation is really cool. It's almost a mix of a 3D animation with sort of small parts of 2D in retrospect, which I really like. It's something similar to, I would say, Into the Spider-Verse, not obviously with the jolty colors and all that. The colors are quite normal, real life colors, but the aesthetic of it is really cool. I love the way they mix animations and animation styles in Love, Death and Robots. Hank sets up his mech in the cow pen, but the cows are all in the way, so he shoos them out the way. And it's a little sort of reddish portal that looks like it's on its way to open. So these, let's call them DBs because we're nerding out today all together. These DBs are obviously making a portal to make their way through onto the farm and attack. So he puts his mech into combat mode, and obviously all the guns pop out and all that stuff. Really, really cool. The portal pops open. Out pops one alien only. Hank looks very chilled, but then all of a sudden a whole bunch pop out. So Hank starts firing on them. The aliens are busy eating some of the cows, but obviously Hank is trying to kill as many of the aliens as possible before they eat the cows. Hank obviously is starting to get a bit overwhelmed, so then he asks his wife to get on the horn and phone for some reinforcements so that everyone can come and help him, because there are what looks like more and more aliens popping out. If I had to take a guess, probably 15 or 20 of them at this point, so quite a few. Jake was actually busy sleeping in his mech, and that's the neighbor that gave Hank the really ugly robot present. But Jake is on the way to help Hank. Hank sees a whole bunch of mini portals opening over this ridge in the valley, and it looks like it is probably in the dozens of holes busy opening. And Hank asks his wife to obviously have a look, and that's Beth. He asks her to just have a look and see exactly what's going on there, and she said she's never seen anything like this before, so obviously there's something busy stirring up and creating a little bit of, and then when I say that, intensity, so they keep building to what happens in the show. Obviously this spurs Hank on to call more reinforcements, which comes in the form of Crazy Mel. But the reason for that is because Beth has just informed him that it looks like there's thousands of DBs on their way in, so that's getting pretty intense. The very, very first introduction of Crazy Mel that you see, actually officially you hear of her, but this is the first time you see her. There's tons of aliens dead around her, and there's one that's sort of got half a body, and then she stands on it with her mech. And she smokes cigars, so she's quite a tough lady, so which is really fun to see a lady being super tough and crazy and all that sort of stuff. It's a lot of fun to watch. So she looks like that typical southern, everyone's probably got an auntie like that, I'm sure, like one of those aunties that are quite tough and crazy. So Crazy Mel. Beth then activates it's not a mech system, but it's like a robot gun system at her house, and it's got pinpoint lasers and all sorts of stuff, so it's quite an advanced system. So it's fun to see that, because you're getting this farm look, but then you're also getting these totally futuristic guns, and it's quite weird to see that in the same frame, but it is a lot of fun to watch. So Hank and Jake and Crazy Mel, there's 3 mechs now, and they're obviously looking up at this massive ridge with this breach busy opening up. So Jake then asks Hank if that's the right place to obviously have a stand down to make sure that the aliens don't get to the farmhouses. Then Hank said yes, we need to give the families time to get into the bunkers. So obviously now, because there's so many aliens, they don't see much hope at this point for everyone to be able to make it, so that's why they're going to put the families in the bunkers, and their families are on the way, so they've got to hold off the aliens long enough so that all the people can get into the bunkers safely. All the mini portals sort of amalgamate with each other and join, and it makes this one monster huge portal, and then from the bottom you get this amazing shot with all the aliens running down the cliffs or on that sort of mountainside. And then you just get to see sort of exactly how many there are, and just by looking you just know it's way too many. So they start firing rockets at the aliens and all sorts of stuff, which is quite fun to watch, and that's where you get that mix of animation. So you see with the explosions, it's not quite CG, It's a sort of 2D mixed with a 3D, and it looks beautiful. Jake makes mention to Hank that they're running out of ammo, so they call obviously for an ammo refill, so to speak. At this point, the aliens are 100% overwhelming them. So in come the extra ammo, and it almost looks like a giant drone that's flying this ammo in, and then some come in on parachutes as well. So it's a mix of the two for them to get their extra ammo, because they are officially running out, because there are just at this point way too many aliens to be fighting with obviously limited ammunition. Some of the aliens seem to be slipping through past Hank, Jake and Crazy Mel, and some of them are actually slipping through and getting through to the farmhouse, but obviously they do have that backup system. But obviously at this point, if they can't stop the swarm, then it's going to be too much for the farm guns to obviously stop it. Jake gets called from Helen on a radio, and Helen says that everyone has officially made it through to the bunkers. So that's obviously the chance for Hank, Jake and Crazy Mel to get out of the danger zone and obviously get to the bunkers as soon as possible, as to not be overwhelmed, of course. Hank tells Jake to back up because the aliens are swarming around him. He doesn't listen, and the aliens start overwhelming, and they push the mech on its back, start ripping off the guns and all of that sort of fun stuff. Jake then sacrifices himself by blowing up his mech, taking out hundreds and hundreds of aliens, but Hank was on his way to try and stop him, but he didn't make it in time, and Jake ended up blowing up his mech, and his last words were, tell Helen, which is his wife, tell Helen that I died real good, which is quite sad. Beth tries to reach out to Hank, but she can't get through to him. His mech's quite badly damaged, obviously from the explosion, but he's on his back and he's busy speaking. So Helen does manage to get through to him eventually. Beth manages to get through to him, and then he obviously tells Beth and Helen that Jake has not made it. But as they get the bad news, Crazy Mel and Hank are basically looking very defeated. All the little small aliens are completely toast. But out from the, just when you think there's not more bad news, then out pops this gigantic, what I would imagine is the mother alien. So yeah, now they gotta try stop this thing. Hank actively tries to run to stop this alien because it's on its way to the farmhouse. But this alien's obviously so massive that it's bullying him a little bit and bumping him around. So he's trying his best, but at this point he's not really winning. After getting bumped, he was face down. The alien was just about to bite his mech suit at the back, the big alien. And just in the nick of time, a huge laser type gun from the farmhouse popped out of the silo and shot at the big alien, saving Hank. But the big alien is still alive and still around. The big alien then gets Hank in its jaws and starts shaking him around. But at the same time, now Beth is confronted in the farmhouse by one of the smaller aliens, and then gets shot by that alien. Gets shot by Helen, who's obviously not happy because those aliens have killed her husband, so she's on a warpath at this point. And while Hank was busy getting chewed up, Crazy Mel came to the rescue and bumped the alien in the face, obviously hitting Hank out of the alien's mouth. So at this point, it is only Hank and Crazy Mel versus this giant alien. So obviously a big fight ensues. It's tough to kind of explain the fight in a sense. It's pretty epic. You'll see parts of it on the screen. I'll make sure I put it up there. You get a huge view of what the alien looks like in its mouth, with probably thousands of teeth in a circular form. Hank has the alien submitted in some sense because it's got a huge cable around its mouth hooked in, and it's hooked around a pole, but that pole's not holding. So basically Hank and this cable are busy holding the alien in place, but there's obviously there's at this point not a very clear shot when it comes to Beth having to shoot at the alien, but she obviously has to do her best, and now we wait and see. Beth gets an opening of a shot, and Hank opens the alien's mouth so that the shot goes right into the alien's mouth. But then you see the coffee mug that Hank had from the beginning. You don't see his robot, you don't see anything, you just see the coffee mug fall on the ground. Yeah, there's some nice swells of music. You can see they are rebuilding the farm. Hank still hasn't reared his head up, and Beth and Crazy Mel look really sad. And lo and behold, out pops Hank with a few beers for everybody, so you know he survived. But at this point, you do see Helen sitting on a chair on the front of the farm, very sad, and Hank gives her some very kind words about Jake being a hero. Hank makes a nice gesture, saying the robot scarecrow that Jake gave to him is finally starting to grow on him. The shot sort of pulls out from where they are sitting, and it pulls out to a wide shot where you see this sort of hovering piece above like an alien planet with thousands and thousands of aliens. So obviously this is not the last fight that they're going to be fighting. There's more battles to come from what it looks like at the end of this episode. So yeah, that is how it ends. So very, very cool episode. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the family quality. I enjoyed how they sort of stick together, fight till the end, even when the chips were down. So I like that kind of narrative, so to speak. Very, very cool. But if you enjoyed the episode, please do comment down below. If you enjoyed my review on this episode, please do comment that as well. But besides that, just what's coming up, Ben's got some reviews that he's going to be doing. The ones that I'm excited about are Avengers comics, and then also The Boys Season 4. Besides that, please do like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.